Welcome to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. These are casual chats with visiting artists. Creaky barn, bugs, and all. Enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to Conversations from the Barn. Wow, we are in the peak of summer right now. Sitting in the barn, shaded from the sun, which has been fierce this week. High humidity. There was a lot of smoke from the wildfires up north. It's all nature, and it's all kind of the mystery and the heat of summer that is very theatrical in its own nature. And it sounds like it played a dance partner with both of you this week. I'm here with Bill Underwood, and we are here with our two friends, Ann and Ariel, who have been with us all week. And I would love, if you wouldn't mind, if you would introduce yourselves and talk about your art form and what you were working on this week.
My name is Ann Mekala, and I guess I sort of think of myself as a multidisciplinary artist. I grew up for about 12 to 15 years as a dancer. I was trained as a classical ballet dancer as a young child and continued into my late teens, and then studied theater in college. And theater and storytelling has sort of woven in and out of my life since college, sometimes playing a very prominent role, sometimes really taking a backseat to other things. And then I'm also a floral designer and stylist, so I do floral design in lots of capacities and do styling work and art direction I do some commercial work and work with some interior designers in styling and bringing florals into spaces.
And you're also a famous artist workshop teacher.
Renowned. Yes,
actually.
world renowned.
Tell me where you've taught.
Really, the most prominent place is a little place called Everwood.
Everwood.
It really my first and only workshop in a barn.
Are you? Oh, I thought you were going to say only workshop.
No, I don't know. I've done a few other workshops.
Okay.
But yeah, I was here in 2021.
That's right.
And did a floral workshop, floral design. We foraged here, and actually, probably 2 days into. So we have a setup for what Ariel and I are working on. We sort of have a rope between two beams in the barn and this kind of organic muslin backdrop. And I just had this memory, like a day into working here, that you set up something very similar here when we did our floral design workshop. And there's a pedestal that we're using that was in the barn that I think we used that day as well. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't even making that connection. Ariel and I we're kind of, in our piece, we're using a lot of dried sticks. And so you obviously can't see, but the setup that we have is actually really similar to what came out of that workshop. So
Deja vu.
I know. I kind of want to pull up pictures for Ariel to show.
I have some pictures I can.
Yeah. When we were setting up, I wasn't thinking like, oh, but then I looked at it and I thought, where have I seen this before? In this very barn.
In this very barn.
Who's this Ariel person that we're talking about? Oh, wait, there she is. Hey.
I've been here the whole time.
With her voice for radio.
with my voice for radio. Well, I've been sort of under the weather, so I think I sound like a frog right now. My name is Ariel Donahue. Like Ann, I have my fingers in many pies. I'm a producer of video and photography, a performer and theater artist. Ann and I met back in the day in theater school as little wee babies in an acting class.
18-year-old.
As 18 year olds. Yeah. We're still 18 years old. To this day, we're still 18 years old. I'm also a singer. I sing regularly in a band called Retro Fizz and in other performance capacities. And I make stuff in barns with Ann.
So set the scene. Speaking of making things in barns, set the scene for what we're looking at right now, and like how you interacted with it over the last couple of days.
Yeah. So Ariel and I were originally meant to come to Everwood with another artist. There was going to be three of us.
Yep.
And we actually did quite a bit of pre-work on a piece that we wanted to make. And when this fairly last minute, this friend, because of very valid reasons, had to step out. We actually decided to kind of scrap everything we had talked about, and just felt like this piece needed to be ours, the two of us, and not sort of trying to adapt something that was built around 3 people. And so Ariel and I are in a book club together, completely separate from this. It's a lot of creative people, but not other theater people. And our book club reads a lot of nature material, a lot of like pop science. So we've sort of been stewing over the last year in like a lot of really beautiful nature text, among other things. A lot of bell hooks, some Audre Lorde, just some really beautiful pieces of work. And so as we were starting to think about shaping something around the two of us, as someone with a dance background, you are a singer, our theater training together was very movement based. We sort of thought, how do we build something that sort of lives on the edge of sort of performance art and dance and theater? And I am also a floral designer, so if you could imagine what you're seeing, it's sort of like a muslin drape with a vase filled with some pretty long, gangly sticks covered in a piece of tulle. And so Ariel and I have been creating this piece really using like very minimal elements, and the 2 biggest ones being a very long piece, many, many, many yards of sort of this raw organic muslin, and then a very long piece of tulle and some branches, and have written a lot of text with a lot of nature in it. But that would be what you would see if you're looking at what we're looking at, is a vase covered in tulle with a big muslin background.
Yeah, another thing that's been on my mind and our minds in sort of the research that's been informing this piece is the relationship between women and textiles and textile production throughout human history. So these fabrics do feel very potent to me and very symbolic of womanhood, of women's work, of many things. So that's been very, very present in our art making in this piece.
There's a scene we're working on where we sort of each start at one end of these gigantically large pieces of fabric and are just washing them down the line. So a lot of very like physical images in a way that's very tactile and interacting with the cloth.
Sometimes very literal and sometimes symbolic. We've been trying to challenge ourselves to stretch how many functions a piece of fabric can be on stage, what it can represent, the presence of something, the absence of something. It's sometimes an environmental element, it's sometimes a prop, it's sometimes clothing, it's sometimes another character, it's
sometimes the thing binding us together.
Yeah. Sometimes a nest. So we've been exploring, playing. We're not super married to any particular scene at this moment, but we were really exploring our tools and the literal tools, literal tool, and what are the properties of these objects and how do they behave in shadow, in light, with our bodies.
With wind.
With wind, with fans. We had fun today playing with a fan.
With tulle.
Is the story starting to emerge?
Yes. I don't think it's a very literal story, and we really didn't want to tell like a beginning, middle, end kind of linear story. There are characters, I suppose, or we have this theme of 2 sisters, but we also become animals. We also, we're trying to weave in elements from the natural world, either as objects or as text, as behavior, as characters.
One of the things we talked about was like really getting to use this like wonderfully beautiful week to create almost like patches. If this story is going to be like a patchwork quilt, that like we want to leave with all of our patches, because it is very dance-like and very physical. I would say we probably have 9 to 12 moments, and we've written a lot of text. And how that all weaves together, we haven't fully, like, we have time to, it's not built into a full piece yet. But a lot of what we've written is like a lot of poetry. And so it's sort of like these very like physical interactions with this fabric and with these large branches, and then this kind of beautiful tag teaming nature poetry that we've written, and then sort of this dance-like movement. And so we leave with sort of all those patches, and now how we weave it together into like a piece.
Turn it into a quilt.
Yeah, truly.
And is the movement the inspiration for the text that you've written, or if not, like how do you memorialize these movements? Are you describing them in words on paper? Are you taking videos? Are you taking sound recordings? Like how are you capturing your...
So we're filming everything that we're doing. So we sort of have this like visual catalog of these sort of, and it's nice that we trained together in like multiple physical theater classes. So I feel like we sort of have this shared vocabulary and ability to like work a scene that I think will make it easier to return to, but we've also been filming it just so that we know. And then we've written a lot of text, I would say it's less like, again, dialogue and like a lot of poetry. And so like there's a piece that sort of talks about, will I look for you at the door when you're no longer there? And we have worked this scene where I'm not on stage and Ariel's looking for me. It sort of like starts as this sort of hide and seek. She's looking under the fabric. She's rifling through the tulle, and I'm not on stage. And she really slowly, if you can see, which listeners won't, but she slowly pulls that muslin off of that clothesline and folds it, and then suddenly has this almost pietà moment where she carries that fabric like a human off stage. And it's sort of the funeral of my character that's no longer on the stage. And she's reading this poem that we've written about, will I look for you at the door when you're no longer there? Because we were really trying to push ourselves, like, how can you have a funeral with a piece of cloth? Or how can you represent grief with 69 yards of muslin? And so each scene that we've created, we've kind of tried to push ourselves, like, how do you show the pain of childbirth with a piece of tulle? And so we wrapped me with tulle and created like this very obtuse belly. And my character is sort of learning to walk with this insane piece of thing on me. So we've done a lot of like very, very human moments, like grief, like birth, like conflict, and these pieces of fabric not being able to hold together, and so eventually we knot them, a lot of, or like hanging the tulle and the muslin on the clothesline and slowly inching them apart. Just very tactile moments overlaid with some of this poetry that we've written about grief, about that one piece that you wrote, she birthed me in the pool seething with jealousy. She was so very hot and cold, like that beautiful piece that you wrote, as I'm like, and maybe I'm saying it, maybe you're saying it, as I'm sort of pregnant with tulle. Which kind of sounds ridiculous when you talk about it, but
Well, I feel like it doesn't really exist in a descriptive. I mean, the stage directions aren't. If you were to distill it to stage directions, it doesn't make any sense. It's more. Yeah. It's like the evolution of an object, how an object is manipulated on stage and given dramatic weight, given dramatic symbolism, because of how it's shaped, what it suggests, what that image or that silhouette reminds you of. But I mean, from a practical perspective, in terms of our workflow to organize and kind of remember what we're making, because we would have longer stretches where we'd improvise and maybe not have, I don't think we usually started with a prompt or something specific that we were trying to do apart from being inspired by an image or inspired by an idea that we wanted to try with an object or with a shadow or something like that. But just by interacting with the objects and finding what we felt and being inspired in the moment. So we would videotape I'm dating myself by calling it videotaping. So we'd film
My camcorder.
with my camcorder.
I feel so young around you right now, Ariel.
Yeah, I know. With my old-timey crank camera on my Super 8. So we would film everything to just capture all of the different things we were playing with so we could reference it later. And if there were moments or scenes that we knew we wanted to come back to, we'd like write it on a little note card, sort of like storyboarding style. And it also gives us like the freedom to reorder things, to mix and match things, to juxtapose things, and have a quick like reference to remember things, and also give us an idea of like, well, how many scenes did we just make yesterday, and make little notes on the back.
Which maybe in retrospect, like it felt disappointing when the smoke rolled in, because we couldn't really safely be in the barn. But I actually think now that we've come out of that, looking back, we had a lot of time inside with, I mean, really, truly, like on the floor or on the table, laying out all of these snatches of poetry that we had written, and all of these note cards with, this felt like a very poignant moment when Ariel tied her wrists with the tool, just whatever it was, and sort of thinking about what would it look like if you overlaid that physical moment we improvised with this poem that you wrote. And
So the smoke brought you inside. For those listening, this is the first week of the Canadian wildfires and the fires in northern Minnesota that rolled in probably Wednesday, midweek for you. That brought you inside. Was there a creative element to the smoke that added any inspiration to the piece? Or?
There is some smoke and wildfires referenced in some of the poetry that we wrote.
Okay.
It just felt like, how could you not?
Yeah.
We also didn't come in intending to sit down and write things. It wasn't, we were mostly thinking about being on our feet for this week-long process.
And sort of like verbalizing our improv.
Yeah. So we hadn't necessarily planned to sit down and write out some text. It was a possibility, but because of the weather and just some other things, that it just made sense to be inside. And so we discovered this writing process, because we would write each other prompts of isolated words and phrases, and then almost like a Mad Lib or a paint by numbers or something, I would give Anne a prompt that she would explode and fill in the blanks and surprise me.
We were sort of passing back our work, like back and forth with each other, and sort of like co-writing together. And we had both brought like absolutely large stacks of a lot of like Audubon books and butterflies and moths and birds and wildflowers, and so we were reading a lot of that and then writing, like truly like an exercise that I've never written in that way, like collaboratively with someone, and it actually turned out to be really lovely. And I think us being driven inside and not in the barn, I think will make this piece way more text heavy than we had maybe originally envisioned, which has been a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I feel like if we scrapped the muslin and all of the things, we could just, Ann and Ariel wrote a book of poetry. Here it is. It's done.
Wildfire Chronicles.
Yeah.
That's right.
Smoked Out by Ann and Ariel.
So aside from the smoke, I'm wondering how nature collaborated with you this week, creating this piece in a exposed barn in the heat of summer, and the breezes and the birds and the moths and all of the things. How did it influence your creativity, do you think?
I don't think we would have wanted to make this piece in the city.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it just felt like we were immersed in inspiration for it. And yeah, like the characters that we were very inspired by, I feel like they live in a barn like this. They live on a farm like this. They live in that old-timey Three Sisters house. So yeah, it feels like it belongs here to me.
I also think choosing 2 long pieces of fabric as our main set and prop pieces in a barn that has 4 sort of like cross drafts, facing each direction, having these huge doors that you can open. I mean, I guess like unless you're creating a piece outside, like just the way that the wind or like the air would interact with our fabric just felt extremely alive in a way that I guess I wouldn't have expected maybe. So I think that like having so much, sort of in this like theater dance piece, like having like we're moving a lot, but I think to see how the fabric that we have hung up and draped and are holding sort of move with the wind felt really special, and wouldn't have been something ahead of time that I knew we needed. But I think this fabric especially needed to live with air movement, which felt fun.
I also love that the tulle has a smoky quality to it.
I wanted white tulle, and Ariel found this sort of like it just has the slightest tannish pink haze, and she was like, I think we need that one instead. And I didn't fight you on it. I was like, great. But it truly looks like smoke. Like it looks like wildfire
really
smoke.
It reminds me so much of Minneapolis this week. Like,
yes.
Because that's what you would look out the window at work, and that's all you saw was that color.
And so this sort of like hazy, slightly pink tulle being something that stands between the 2 of us in some scenes, something that is wrapped around us in many scenes, something that we hold, something that we have to get past. That does feel so pertinent to a week where I think you texted us. The smoke is rolling in it, and we could watch it. Like we could just watch it roll.
It was shocking how fast it was.
And the air quality, whatever that's called, the number that you
The
get.
index.
Yeah. It was $4.99 at one point here, which is, I mean, just absolutely
Unhealthy.
yeah.
Just go back
the
and
very
Yes,
edge of the
yes,
scale.
Yes, like one more, and it would have been apocalypse.
You're standing on the wrong side of the fire.
Yeah, truly.
I was telling people at work, I was like, in how many years that we've been doing this, I don't think I've ever seen a text from Chris say, we're shutting the barn down.
Yeah.
Like everybody indoors.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't recall that ever happening.
Yeah.
That's what I knew it was bad.
Yeah, and it felt so like something that we've talked about in this piece being very a nature play is what we're calling it, but like something that I feel like is so often talked about with nature is like its beauty and its peace and its tranquility, and but something that we have been really exploring this week is just the brutality of nature. And humans as nature, like we are nature. I think that there's so often, and I think so many problems in our world come from thinking that we're different, that we're somehow above nature or different from nature, but like we are animals, we are part of nature. And
Well, Stephen Colbert in his, he was doing that questionnaire towards the end of in his final season, where he would ask, like, it was the ultimate get to know you questionnaire, and he would say to his guests, what's the scariest animal? And I would say 25% of the time, the respondents were humans.
yeah, truly.
Spot on.
Truly,
Yep.
yes. But that like somehow, like nature is brutal, and like we're maybe the brutalist. Feels like something we've like really leaned into and explored. Like the things that humans do to each other, like it's nature, but it's like it's not what you want. There's a lot of evil, and yet it fits somehow into this nature that we live in, and that like when one animal devours another, like that is also nature, just like when a brook trickles, like. And I think that it's in some ways the way that the wildfire smoke and just sort of the tragedy that our climate is in because of us. Like all of that has felt like it's feeding into like the way that we're weaving the story, that there's so much beauty and there's also so much brutality in nature. And sometimes that's something that we're receiving as humans, the brutality of nature, and often it's what we are inflicting.
Which is a reflection of us.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in animals and insects and birds that like just do shitty things to each other. I mean, there's like marmots and rodents that practice infanticide to like they will eat the young of non-related females that they encounter, or like birds that will like eat the eggs of a competing or another species and like lay their own eggs in there to be like taken care of by this bird. So like there are pretty sinister things that the animal kingdom does all the time, or like a fungus that can take over the brain of an ant and puppeteer it and colonize an entire group of ants. I mean, so yeah, I think looking at those kinds of things in relationship to human behavior, to human betrayal in like interpersonal relationships is very interesting. That even with all of our magnificent tools, we are still not that different from other creatures. And just I wonder, like, what would a beaver do if beavers had the internet?
That's not in our play, but maybe.
Not yet.
Is that crazy fungus that takes over ants? Is that going to make it into your play? Because that freaked me out a little bit.
It's scary, right?
It's super scary.
Yeah. There is a
They
scene.
turn them into zombies.
Yeah, it's very.
Are you making this
No,
up?
it's
it's a
100%
real
real.
thing.
It's 100% real.
I'm not reading about that. No way. That'll haunt me.
There's video.
Eek.
There is a scene that we're playing with where Ariel is sort of winding me up into the muslin. We've written some text a little bit about betrayal. It probably won't come like in that moment, but maybe around that moment at some point. But and in a lot of ways, some of our inspiration for the movement of it is the way a spider wraps its prey. And then talking about sort of the betrayal between humans that love each other, and like we're not playing spiders, we're not being spiders, but like just sort of playing with that imagery of like what does it look like to be using text that talks about betrayal while also being wrapped.
Capturing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are animals, though.
Yeah.
Like we became birds today.
Your whole process has been so emergent. I wonder if there is open space for audience members to become a part of it in real time and improv with you and react, take the fabric and see what they do.
Chris, you recommended a book to me probably 3 or 4 years ago, The Art of Gathering.
Yes.
Good memory.
Priya
And-
Parker.
Yes, a wonderful book. I remember you mentioning it, and I don't think I read it for like another couple of years. And I haven't even talked to you about this. But it's absolutely changed the way I do so many things. And up until now, I haven't really thought of it in terms of being a performer, like being an actor or a dancer, a storyteller. But one thing that I loved about that book was just the idea that if you're being, and I host a lot, we have a lot of dinner parties in our home. And so I thought about it a lot in terms of that. But it does make me want to think about what does it look like to create space for an audience? And how do they get to feel as if it's not just anyone in these seats, but we needed you here and we need you to be a part of what we're doing, is something that I'd love to explore with this piece because it is so physical and it is so tactile.
We have a question that we wrap all of our podcasts with that we will ask you, which is, how have you experienced beauty today?
Like every second. Today, I feel like this entire week has been very beautiful, visually, spatially. Letting time slow down while I've been here. My practice has really been to give myself a lot of grace and to slow down and not make my to-do list too long. And there's been so much beauty in that spaciousness that feels really special and precious.
Lovely. How about you?
This week has felt like the culmination of a lot of things in my life. I mean, I was at Everwood here lots of years ago. My brother came and did an artist
Really
residency.
early on.
Yes, one of the, maybe not the first year, but super early.
It was the first year.
He was part of the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I feel like I'm holding him here, being here. I now have known you both for a long time, and I'm just holding just that history of like existing in time and then being back here for a residency feels very special. Ariel and I have talked a lot about all the books that we read this year that are feeding our work here. We've talked a lot about how we met as 18-year-olds and are now 38 and 39, being here 20 years after we met, creating theater together again, and having almost no relationship in between that. We didn't really keep up and have just recently reconnected.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
We've had a good year. Book club has done wonders for us.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think just being here, it just feels like there's all of these storylines that it just make being here feel really sacred. So yeah, I think I felt very held in story and in the history of time. In being here, this little week feels like it represents lots of things in my life, and so that feels like a really sacred space to create a story out of.
Right.
And I feel very grateful to the two of you because I know probably everyone says this when they come here, but like you can just feel the sacredness of what you've built here. And you know, as artists, you have self-doubt, you have external criticism, mostly internal criticism. Creating art doesn't always feel safe. And to step into a space where I know the two of you care and believe in the people that you welcome into your space, that is not true everywhere. And so I think to just sit in the sacredness of this place that you two have created feels absolutely like one of the biggest privileges to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I like very much this notion that there's a long story. You two started a story in school and you built on it separately, and you picked up the thread and the story continued. You have history here with your brother and personally and conversations. You touch in and touch in and touch in, and the story continues. And so I'm grateful that you are both a part of our story and this lineage, and everybody that comes before and after too. You're part of all of their story too. So thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being a part of what is emergent here and bringing your gifts. It matters a lot.
It's an honor. It's been an honor to be here.
Stay in touch, would you? We want to know where this goes when it's time.
When it hits the road.
When it hits the road, yeah.
I mean, no pressure, but you did mention your brother, and your brother is the only one who we need to get a name for it. You know, the EGOT. We got to think of a name or an acronym for the person who has done the 3 pursuits. So
yes.
John Mark is the only one who has performed here, taught here, and worked here. He's done all 3 of the pursuits. So you now, Anne, have
You could get the next EGOT.
you've got 2 patches.
2 out of 3.
You just now need to perform. So
And then I'll beat him. No,
well, you'll
we'll be
tie
tied.
him. Yeah. So
What
no
do I need to do
pressure.
to beat him?
Well, you
kidding.
just need to, I mean, keep
paint the
pursuing
barn,
this
or-
work. Keep pursuing this work
We could
because
talk about it.
yeah, maybe there's a time when you can have a reading of it here, a staging, not a full performance, but
A quilting bee.
a quilting,
A quilting bee. I love this
version-
metaphor of the quilt.
or version of the fringe. I do. I like that the quilt metaphor too.
I love it. Beautiful.
Thank Thanks for listening to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. Our theme music is provided by John Mark Nelson. Wishing you all good health.